Hey everyone, Jenny Ponzeric here. I hope everyone's day is going well. For those of you who don't know me, my background is in school psychology. I've been part of this field for over 20 years, and I have worked in the school system. I've worked as an administrator, and nowadays I do a lot of contract work with different districts. I get to do a lot of professional development as well as help support new hires, review reports, a lot of fun things that I get to do to help out this wonderful world of school psychology. Now, if you were with me just a couple of weeks ago, we talked a little bit about when are some instances where we might want to look at executive functioning skills. Today, I wanted to continue that conversation and talk a little bit about how are different ways to examine executive functioning skills. Now, we know there are both formal ways and some informal ways to examine this group of skills that really help our students be able to plan, organize, for a lot of them, be very successful students. So let's start off in talking about tests. There are definitely some one-on-one tests. For example, things that come from the Dallas Kaplan Executive Functioning System or the DCAFs, the NEPSI. There are definitely some tests that we can use that look specifically at different executive functioning skills. So that's definitely one way to take a look at it. And then there's also rating scales, probably a very popular way to look at these different skills. And we can find executive functioning skills on some of our kind of broader based rating scales, such as the BASC as well as the Conners. And then, of course, many of you have access to rating scales that look specifically at executive functioning skills. I think the most popular ones are probably the Brief, the CEFI, and George McCluskey also has an executive functioning scale called the MEFS. So lots of different kind of tools to choose from. And again, those are all standardized tools, whether we're talking about the one-on-one test or rating scales. And of course, there's also very more informal ways to take a look at these skills. So are we looking at this kind of, skill level through our observations? Are we asking teachers through our input forms and our interviews about these different executive skills? And of course, there's some different informal questionnaires as well. Some of you are familiar with the Smart But Scattered series by Peg Dawson and Richard Guar. Those books and the whole series of books have a number of different questionnaires that people in our field utilize to help take a look at these different skills as well. Now, whether you like to give one-on-one tests, you like to give standardized rating scales, you like to just interview and ask questions, or use like informal questionnaires, I think one of the things I like to think about when we're looking at executive functioning skills is, do we have skill deficits or do we have performance deficits? What do I mean? Skill deficit. Does a student just not have any time management skills? They don't even know how to break down a long-term project, for example. Some of our students just don't know the different steps that are involved in that. And in those kind of cases where we find out that it is a skill deficit, obviously teaching is involved, right? Just like if we had a reading skill deficit, teaching needs to be involved. Some of our students know how to do some of these skills, but they're not quite sure when they're supposed to use these skills. They're not applying them at all the right times. They may be able to sustain their attention, but not during every kind of task. Sometimes our students have more of the performance deficit, and they may need changes to their environment or reinforcement. So one of the things I think about is I think about myself as having pretty good time management skills. I'm a very organized person and I use checklist and to-do list and online types of things. I am a pretty organized human being, except when I'm completely overwhelmed or completely tired. If you came into my office during those times, you would just observe me and be like, "Ugh, she needs organization help." Actually, no, I have the skill, but in certain situations, I can't perform that skill, right? And in those kind of cases, how you would help me out would be very different, right? Versus Jenny just doesn't even know how to organize herself. So we think about our students, I think it's one of the ways to really look at some of these executive functioning skills. Does the student need to be taught the skill, or do we just need to remind the student, prompt the student, use reminders, all of those different types of pieces to really set up an ideal environment so that our students can show off these different skills? Something for us to kind of be thinking about as you are looking at these different skills for our students in our evaluations. Now, as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, I have been doing a live training series, and we're coming upon the last one in the series. We started way back in November. And our very last one is next Monday, March the 25th. And from 12 to 2 Pacific Standard Time, I am focusing this last training on executive functioning skills. So we're going to go much more in depth of the how, the when, the why behind all of these executive functioning skills, and then how we can help support students. And many of you might not be providing direct resources or direct support for students, but you're doing a lot of consultation with the teachers. So we're going to talk about all of these different pieces in those 2 hours together. And I know we already have hundreds of people who have signed up for this live training series. And so if you're already signed up, I hope you're excited about this last one. I am. It's one of my favorite topics to dive into. And if you're not yet signed up, but this is something you're interested in learning more about, feel free to head over to my website, which is just my name, jennypunzurek.com. Information right there on the front page for you to click on and learn all about signing up for either the whole series or just this one. Because what we do is re-record everything. So whether you can make this last one live or you're going to catch the replay, if you're interested in looking at some of the other topics that I've already done, the replays are available for all of those. And for those of you who need CEUs or certificates of attendance, we provide opportunities for both of those as well. Head over to my website, jennypunzurek.com, to learn more about this. And on the website, should you have any follow-up questions, feel free to go ahead and pop those on in there. If you are watching this on social, also just drop a DM to me with any questions. Happy to respond to you. Until next time, I hope everyone is hanging in there, and I will see you all soon. Bye, everyone.